All right, folks, we're sorry for the delay. We've been gone a couple weeks, but we're back. We're here, and we're chatting with an actual legend today. Oh, hold on. This is the right button. There we go. Listen, I'm a professional. That's one thing you can count on without a doubt. I'm just kidding.
Right.
But we are back. Right. This is Behind the Glass. Welcome back, episode 10. My name is bobstract, or Bob. Tonight, we are joined by...
Truvon. Hello.
That's right. Motherfucking Truvon in the house. World renowned. You better look her up. If you don't know about her right now, Google it. Google it. I'm just kidding. But she is legendary in her own right. Super excited to sit down with her tonight. And real quick, for those, I don't know how anyone would actually know this lore, but back in the day, like 4 years ago, I did Behind the Glass for another company. And Truvon was one of the few people that was on both renditions of Behind the Glass. The original, the OG,
wow.
And then now here with Bob. Truvon, your thoughts?
How time goes. How time goes. And when I look at 4 years ago, it seems like a century.
Yeah.
Time is just one of those things that is just moving along. And I don't even notice it, apparently. So...
That's right. As Guts says, deep lore. That's right. We're giving the deep lore out tonight, folks. You are here for the lore episode. And if you're watching on YouTube, hold on. Before we get into it, if you're watching on YouTube, 80% of you are not subscribed. Pause the video. Subscribe. Like the video. Post a comment. Tell me, this is what I want in the comment section this week. Tell me your favorite macaroni topping. Your favorite topping that you want added to macaroni. What makes the best macaroni? Put it in the comments. Like the video, subscribe. All right, let's get back into the content. You have to do that. In 2023, we were talking about this before the call, but there are certain things that you must do when you create content in 2023.
At this point.
You know?
At this point, yeah.
So
you have to create a lot of it. You gotta put it out. Gotta put it out every 20 seconds.
Yeah, true.
It's old. It's old.
It's already old. It's already old, honestly. We should have done more. Should have done more. Guts and Glory, why is your cam blurry, Bobby? The answer is you no longer have the ability to know what it looks like in my apartment. Even though you already know, just pretend like you don't know. I'm just kidding. But yeah, I don't know. I just decided to start blurring it. But anyway, enough with the chit chat. So how Behind the Glass works, we're going to ask a couple of questions that I ask everyone to try to get on a first name basis, if you will, with our guest. And then we're going to go into the AI Overlord section. That's right. I asked AI what things we should talk to Truvon about, and AI told me. And we're going to apply those things that AI told us to talk about, and we're going to talk about them with Truvon. But first things first, Truvon, how did you first get started doing what you're doing?
Oh my gosh. Well, it was a lonely day in high school. No, I played basketball in high school. So, played basketball. I got injured very badly. And I was a top recruit. I was super depressed. I had a guitar that was in the corner, and then I started playing it. I was terrible at it, but I just started playing the guitar, and that's really where it started. I wanted to be like a Joe Bonamassa. Like, I wanted to be a guitarist. Like, that was my whole goal in life. You know, my clarinet and band was not going to help me. So that's kind of, that's where I started out.
Okay.
And then I did end up playing in college. And from there, on the East Coast, started writing, doing, like, acoustic stuff. I feel like no one gave me the time of day, so I started producing my own stuff as far as all the music and composition, because, finding producers, that's a headache. I didn't want to find beats online. So that's kind of where that happened. After I graduated, got into the beat scene. I was a wedding DJ. Yeah. Oh, man, I sure was. I was a wedding DJ, did a lot of production, a lot of beat stuff, started using my own voice, and then it kind of just started to really go from there. I never really planned to use my face or use anything. I was really trying to be early weekend when it came to that. And then it just unfolded into what we have now. That's the origin story.
Gotcha. Cool. So, yeah. So if you're keeping up, she was a sports player, turned clarinet enthusiast, turned guitar enthusiast, and here she is killing it as a songwriter.
Yes.
What are some of the accolades for those that may not be familiar when it comes to, like, there's a lot. I'll let you talk about it.
when it when it comes to music, right? When I'm talking about basketball.
Well, I mean, hey, if you got some basketball accolades, throw them down. That's what we're here for.
I went to a small D1 school that did not give up on me in Connecticut. I've been to the NCAA tournament. I have a ring.
Let's go! Fucking
I have a ring.
up.
I was in the NEC conference. Up. Shout out.
Let's go.
I was rookie of the year.
Okay.
Second team, all NEC, all of that stuff. As a freshman, it was great. It was a good time.
Okay.
It was a good time. Yeah. Music wise, though, I know that's what we're really talking about. No. So my music's been on some shows. Good Trouble, spin off of the Fosters. That's where Crazy Love really started to just do its own thing, and that was really, the start of that. Mm-hmm. All Right was on that show as well. Did a couple things for Naomi, sold a couple songs to Fox Music as well, for television. Went on a couple reality TV shows in regards to music. So just a lot of writing and a lot of producing underneath it all for television truly is where things started to go for me.
True. And someone who's actually in the industry, actually making moves, getting licenses, getting placements, actually doing it, actually shaking the hands, actually doing the work. That's what I think is so remarkable, because a lot of people aim to be where you are already operating at. So I think there's a lot to be said about that.
I think that's such an interesting point, because I really, truly, truly, truly think that what people have the vision of when you say certain things is like you're already at this certain level and this certain, place. But I think what people don't realize is sync, for one. That's where a lot of musicians are making their money to begin with. And that's really where you can start to have a life and build a life for yourself without being famous or anything like that. And you could build a solid career as a musician without thinking that you need to be the 1% that is the Justin Biebers and the Miley Cyruses and all of that stuff.
Yep.
So, the industry is so large and it's rarely talked about. Like, there's a lot of different things that you can do.
True. No, 100%. 100%. That is why I think it's super valuable to have you as a guest. So thank you for spending the time with us tonight. Thank you for making yourself available. So to go from talking about the bright and shiny things to maybe some of the sadder things or harder things, what do you think is the hardest thing? Oh, what do you think is the hardest thing about what you do?
Your mental health.
True.
I kid you not. When you're writing and you're producing, and that's what you do, so much of what comes out and so much of what you hear is not what the process is or what it looks like. Like, you go through so many different songs and so many different hours at all times of the day, all times of the night, and a lot of stuff you're just like, I hate this, and then you move on, and you're like, I hate this too. Or you're beating your head against a wall trying to make something work when it doesn't. Mm-hmm. I would say the hardest thing, 100%, is controlling your mental health, especially with social media and posting and trying to manage this entire business that is the music, the social media, the relationships, trying to get deals, make money, to live. Like, all of those things wrapped into one. And when it's kind of by yourself, that is very hard on your mental health.
Yeah, it comes at the cost of like your mental health a lot of times, like, because you got to stretch yourself so thin to be so many places at once, wearing so many different hats. Like, that's definitely what it comes at the cost of, I think, for sure.
I think we're in the different hats 100%, because it's not that you don't want a team. That's not even it. It's that you have to think about a few different things. It's like, can I even afford to pay you? Can we work as a unit until we can get to that level? There's always a possibility that you won't get to that level, and having those conversations and with contracts and the people that you're working with and making sure that stuff is set, to where things don't split off. And, there's a lot of different aspects to it that can get very stressful. And then you sometimes think, it's like, man, this is a lot. Like, I'm tired. Is this it? Do I want to do this right now?
True. And
Yeah.
it's something that changed, at least for me. Like, it's something I try not to put too much stock into it day to day, how I'm feeling, because, like, for instance, I'll let you know, this week has started off so shitty for me, in pretty much every aspect. Like, work has been shitty.
Right.
Like, it's just been a busy fucking week. And so, like, when I get like this, like, my mental health, like, deteriorates, obviously, as most people's would.
Right.
And then it starts getting into, like, all the things I'm working on. I'm like, well, this is
Right.
never gonna work. I'm a
Right.
fucking failure. Why am I wasting my, like? And so, like, I'll do
The
that for a little
self-talk.
bit, yeah.
Yeah.
But then I'll just be like, all right, like, this is
Right.
not getting answered today. I'm not gonna have a
Right.
solution for this today, but I'm not gonna let it ruin the rest of my day. And it's like, but then some days I'll feel like, damn, like, I got this in the bag. This is the best
that.
shit that anyone has
Feel
ever
that.
heard. You know what I mean? So it's like,
You have
it's,
to ride those highs till they dry out. That's crazy because I think yesterday, maybe yes, I think it was yesterday. I don't even know. I was just happy. I was like so grateful, and I was like, I was in that mood. I was like, oh my gosh, and I knew that high was not going to last. So I did everything that I could, cleaned, did all of that, made sure that my mood was, I did whatever I could do within that time period because I woke up today like, well, it was good while it lasted. Like it was good while it lasted, and you just have a lot of thoughts always that are just roaming in your head. And to be honest with you, that's what makes an artist an artist. You feel the world in a certain depth that is so deep and heavy to where you really have to learn how to manage your mental health with that.
True. No, 100%. I agree.
Yeah.
I think you're spitting a lot of facts right now. We're
Spend a lot
only
of knowledge.
we're just barely scratching the surface of the interview, but you're coming out.
Been around the block.
That's right. That's right. Well, on your trips around the block, I'm sure it hasn't been, all sunflowers and daisies. Has there been any, like, major setbacks? And, like, do you remember, like, the first major setback that you encountered?
How many? Oh, how many? Like, I remember when I graduated college, I just came back out here. I didn't know anyone. So, starting from scratch when I was already scratch, like, I didn't even have my name. I went through probably 4 different names before this one ended up being a thing.
Okay.
But I remember, and you already know how this works. Like, the promise wheel, right? I remember writing All Right, coming out with All Right, meeting up with someone, I'm not going to say the name or anything, but I remember just the promise wheel. And I was so young and naive, and, All Right was going to be that song, it was going to blow up, and it did pretty well. But I think the thoughts of grandeur, I think that was the first time that I realized it's not what it seems. Like, you can have as many streams as you want, you can have, all of these things, but people really are sometimes they're just trying to take your money. Like, that's just really what it comes down to. But I think that was my first setback in regards to what I thought this could be. And I think it did well. Like, it introduced me to Futuristic. I'm extremely grateful for that. We did a song together, and which is my second setback. I think I was very just all over the place. And, that relationship, I think, kind of fell out. And I think it could have been a really good relationship, but it did kind of fall out. So,
damn, I didn't know that. This is a fucking world premiere shit.
yeah. I think, because I was actually I lived there. So I lived in, because he has a few different houses, so I lived in one of them. And I think it was a good relationship. I think, things were good, but I think mentally I was very loosey-goosey. Plus, I didn't want to do covers. I never wanted to do covers. I don't like covers. I like covers and mashups and original, certain things, but, like, doing covers all the time and stuff, like, I'm just not I don't know, it was never really in my intention. So, I did end up moving out, and
So wait, hold on. I'm sorry to cut you off. So was a condition of living there that you had to do covers?
no, not at all. Like, I
Oh,
think
okay.
he really wanted to nurture the relationship, to be honest with you. I think he thought I was talented. It was right after All Right.
Mhm.
He's the one that got that music video on Jacob Owen's channel, which
Oh.
I thought was huge. That was right after the fallout with the person that I was being managed with before, that it was just so many lies. It was ridiculous.
Mhm.
So in that relationship, I think he really wanted to nurture it. And I think at that point, he might have been starting a label, just started a label, something like that. And I thought I was going to be signed. I thought that was it,
Gotcha.
and I think none of that worked out at all.
Mhm.
And not in a malice way, not in a bad way. It just didn't work out. Like, I didn't go as far as what I thought the expectation was in my mind. Like, I think that happens a lot. There's a certain expectation that you have of, all right, well, now this is going to go, this is going to go, this is
Mhm.
the moment, this is the time. And that happens so often, and it doesn't. Um, so, I ended up um, going back, living on my own, and, because that was at the peak of Crazy Love. I don't know, it wasn't, no, it wasn't. It was before that. Um, but I think there's just a lot of the setbacks have to do with what my expectations were and not capitalizing on things how I would have done now compared, like the momentum, keeping the momentum. One of the biggest setbacks was not capitalizing on 2020, um, getting into a relationship that I had no business getting into,
You can't.
and then dropping off.
Is that a regret? That's a regret for real?
The relationship is not a regret. It's just when I really look back at it, it's not even the fact that we didn't work out. It's like when I look back, it's everything was so rushed because of 2020. Decisions had to be made. Um, Things just moved fast, and then I just dropped off completely. Like any momentum that I had, because I remember 2020, I released my album, my very first album. There was momentum, there was push, there were things that have happened.
Mhm.
And I think my biggest thing is not capitalizing and not understand the push and things that it takes to, when you have the momentum, to keep it.
True.
That is the story of my entire life of just dropping off the momentum
Gotcha.
every single time. It's like I release something, I'm riding that high, I think I'm doing all these things, and then I drop off. I am a ghoster. Like, I am a ghoster. I, release something, put something out, and it does really well, and there's all this, and then I just drop off.
Mm.
And I think that's one of my biggest setbacks, is really not capitalizing off of Crazy Love as much as I should have.
I think you still
110%.
can.
I
I
think
think you
I
still
still
can.
can too. It's
Yeah.
almost at 1 million on Spotify. Like, I think I can put, because songs are actually blowing up. Even well, it's kind of taboo to talk about. No, I was gonna say Lizzo, because Truth Hurt, right? Truth Hurts though. Truth Hurts blew up 3 years after the song came out.
Yep.
Like, so, that's what I'm realizing too, is just because it came out, a week or two ago, things take a lot of time to
Yeah, or
build up if you do
years.
it right.
Think about like
Years.
how many people haven't. If you're almost at 1 million, there's 7.9 billion
Right.
people left. You
Right.
know? So like
Right.
cuz I think your music is good. I think your music from before from 2019, 2020 is good. I think your new music is good. I think all of it is good enough to bring a bag. You just got to find, it's like like what everyone talks about with like the water bottle. You could be a water
Right.
bottle in a Circle K for $1. You could be a water
Right.
bottle at a, I don't know, airport for $4. You could be a water bottle
Right.
at Disneyland for $10. Like, it's the
Right.
same water bottle. You just, like, obviously it takes a little bit more work to get, into Disneyland, but also the payoff is huge. Like,
Yeah,
I
but
think you got it.
to your point, Drive, when that song came out, even after Crazy Love, that had the same potential. It got on a show,
Mhm.
did really well, but I didn't do, like, oh man, I think this is probably going to be a question, but there are so many things that I look back at and I'm like, like, oh my gosh, like I didn't do the same thing, spending money on stupid shit, like not material stuff, but
Right.
spending money back into the music, but on stupid shit.
Foolish
Like there's
things.
no reason to spend that much money on a music video at all. No reason. I don't care. There's no reason. All of that could have been spent towards marketing and put you in a completely different place than you are now. Like certain things gets me because that money's not necessarily there now.
Yep.
You know, you got to rebuild again.
Yep.
So,
It's that
you know,
momentum. Yeah.
I feel like I'm smarter now because when I was making a lot of money, I feel like that's, you just think you can, you know, buy this or buy that and then it'll go. But even if you do think that, marketing is where the focus to me now, any lump sum of change, anything that I get that's a sink, marketing to me is the number one thing to do.
Yeah. That's the smartest thing. That's why I got 2,000 monthly listeners on Spotify.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
that's huge. That's huge. Like keeping that number up, because like as soon as the marketing ends and it's been 28 days, like, you know what I mean? Like you gotta constantly have the marketing going. So
yeah, because like you said, Crazy Love's keeping me up there. It's still on Discover Weekly. It's been on there for years. It's been on there for years.
That's crazy.
Crazy Love itself is self-maintaining.
Wow. That's wild.
So
I had no idea that you could even have a song on Discover Weekly that long. That's fucking tight.
For years.
That's crazy.
If it's something that's highly pushed, highly saved, whatever, it'll stay on there for years. And that's why it's like, all right, like just culminating that and using that, like I feel like I've taken advantage of some things that are self-sustaining. Like I think I've taken advantage of that instead of like capitalizing on a lot of things that have started to self-sustain because of some of the sync stuff and some of the successes that, you know, I've done, and especially shows and opening up for certain people have always helped too.
True.
So
true. Well, that is it for the at least for these beginning questions, the sad part of it. We're going to transition to the happy sunflowers and daisies now.
oh yay.
Do you have a favorite studio or recording setting memory?
Oh yeah, it would probably be being in the studio making Crazy Love. Oh man, with my engineer Andre, and you know what's funny? I think Brown Boy or Alexis now was in the studio at that time too.
Okay.
And yeah, I was recording the song at that time, and it was such. That's another thing too, but it was such a free flowing of energy. Like I usually I already produce everything and write everything before I go to the studio. You gotta save money.
Yeah, true.
I do everything beforehand. I'm like,
True.
let's book this 2-hour session, okay? But it's, you know, I usually let my engineer do whatever he wants, you know, when it comes to vocals and processing. And it was such a good time creating that song. It was such a good time. And it was very experimental. You know, there's a lot of experimental things, which I think I miss the most, is I'm not as experimental because everything's so regimented. Which I'm probably going to get back to being a little bit more experimental, but yeah, it was my favorite.
Yeah, I think that some of the best work gets made once you like try to strip down as many of those like barriers as you can to like, or not barriers, but like just doing things the way you always do things, like trying to take a departure from that. It's not always fruitful. Like sometimes you get lost in the sauce, like trying to make it, but other times that's where you surprise yourself with something you're able to make.
There's no inhibition, and I think everything. I was so green, where I was so open, and there was no inhibition at all. I would just be like, "All right, let's do it this way." I knew what my sound was already, but you know, all the different effects and stuff. I love vocal processing. I think it is the coolest thing, and there's so much more to it than people think.
Totally.
So I love experimenting with that. Vocal processing is like everything to me. So.
Gotcha. Yeah. I think it's evident the like soundscapes that you make with your beats and your lyrics. Like it's definitely, like I was telling you before, it's a vibe. Like
it's a vibe.
Every time that, like more so than any other artist that like I can think of. Like when you put on a Truvon song, you know you're getting into a vibe. Like and it's a different vibe depending on the song, but like you deliver on the vibes,
you know a feeling is gonna come out.
Yep.
100%.
Absolutely. Well, before we get into to appeasing our AI overlords, do you have a favorite project that you've worked on so far as a whole, like a collection of songs?
Collection of songs. Um, Geez, released or unreleased? Because
Let's hear
I'd probably
both.
say In My Feelings, my very, very, very first EP I've ever released.
Okay.
Uh, I remember watching some interviews, but I was drunk the entire time doing that. I was in my mom's like nook of a room, and it was just like a sheet and this vocal thing, and the quality is so bad. But there is such an honesty, and we were talking about this earlier. There was such an honesty with the words and the beats and the rhythms, and people have loved that EP. They really did. It was so raw and honest, and I think that was when Scissor really came to the surface too. So I think it just all kind of fit into one because I was way moodier back then.
Hmm.
You know, there was a lot more of a mood and a texture. Early Weekend, so it was very dark, but it had a lot of grit and had a lot of honesty. So that's probably my favorite project, hands down. Yeah.
Gotcha. That makes sense. It doesn't have to be like the best like sonic
Oh,
quality, like because yeah, and I feel like when you hear it, it takes you right back to when you were writing it or like making it.
oh
Like
yeah. I
that.
mean, I've been listening to a lot of Motel Fish, and I'm honestly thinking like getting back to the guitar. You know, I if you should see my studio. Like, there's an actual studio here compared to when I just had like a little MIDI keyboard in the computer.
Uh huh.
You know, so I think I just want to get back to stripping everything down, um, and
That's
kind of get
tight.
back to that.
That's
Yeah.
super tight. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm fully on board with that. I'm ready for the stripped down
I'm on board
Truvon
with that.
music.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Me too.
Bet. Okay, well, we're gonna get into the AI part now. So this is what changes every week, and basically, I went to ChatGPT and I said we're gonna be talking to Truvon. First of all, ChatGPT, you better know who the fuck it is. Number two, what should we talk to her about? And the first question they want us to ask you is what inspires your music and lyrics?
Oh, uh, heavy emotional disdain or existential angst. Anything that has to do with just a lot of emotional wherewithal, feelings of regret, feelings of love, feelings of heartbreak. Anything that involves a deep emotion, I think, is where I usually start, and then kind of go from there. I don't do a lot of, you know, happiness stuff, I guess you could say.
True. Is there a reason?
Uh,
I'm curious.
it honestly, it's hard for me to do. I remember my publisher was saying like some of the tracks that they were looking for, um, was like super up tempo, super like Lizzo before, super like I don't do this. I'll write like a vibey, like the happiest I get, it'll be like in a beat form, but the lyrics will still not be in that elevated state, if that makes sense.
Gotcha. Okay.
Like it'll be vibey, but I don't know how to make up. Like I know how to make it, but not for myself. There's no way. Like I don't know. It just doesn't. I don't know. It's so crazy. I actually don't know
It's like
how to
off
do the whole
brand.
get up and it's completely off brand. What am I going to do?
Yeah,
What you gonna see me do?
I feel it.
Like
Okay.
I'm gonna shake my ass in this video and be like, no, I just can't do that. It's not even. I'm too moody for that.
Okay.
My definition is like I'm like bedroom pop. Okay, it's when you just got home. Maybe you're drunk. Maybe you're lit, and then you sit down.
You
that's
sit
that's
down.
my vibe. That's my vibe.
I got
Like
it.
it's definitely not you're about to go to the club. It could be if you're depressed, but yeah, it's definitely a damn. I never thought about that. Like that's how I feel like music is.
Good. I mean, that's a good answer. I think it makes sense, like the way that you've branded yourself and the songs that you make. Like it definitely makes sense that
Yeah,
now I get it. You know what I mean? Um, she said, "Miss me with the happy shit." She said, "I'm here
yeah.
for
I
the
just don't
real
know what to
shit."
do with that.
Yeah, I get
Yeah.
it. I get it. Um, We were talking about this a little bit before we started the show, but our next question is, how has streaming changed the way you approach your music career?
That's ironic because I did actually, in my feelings, my very first one, I was slinging them CDs. I was slinging them, $5 a pop.
Okay.
Um, I think streaming just allows the music to reach so many more people to where I don't necessarily feel a need to do this heavy 6 week push before the song comes out. Um, at all. To me, it's like release a song and then let's go from there. I feel like that's easier. I feel like also people, believe it or not, resonate with that a little bit more. Like, unless you're at a certain level as an artist, if you constantly are berating people in social media that your song is coming out, it low key doesn't do much, to be honest. So I think streaming allows you to actually maybe a week before say it and then release it, and then you decide where you want to go. To be honest with you, it gives you a lot more freedom.
True.
And a lot more freedom to be independent too.
Yeah. No, I agree 100%. And it's like the problem with promoting on social media your new releases is you're only reaching the people who are already interested in you.
Right.
And like what you need to do is reach the people who haven't heard of you. And you're not going to do that on your own social media where people are already following you. So So yeah, it's definitely like a little bit of a conundrum, but it's also like I feel like it changes the way, as far as from like the music production side of things, like the whole package, because like you like the end goal used to be you'd have a CD, you sell it for $5. If someone likes the CD, they give you $5 and boom, and you're on to the next one. But now it's like it's not hand to hand.
It's not brick and mortar anymore. It absolutely is not.
Right.
The sticker game, I remember the sticker game was heavy.
Yep.
I know you had Blaine Coffee on here. Sticker game is no joke. Sticker game. I saw Blaine stickers everywhere.
Yep. Everywhere.
I was like, bro.
He was the king.
He was the king with stickers. I was like, how did it end up in Sedona?
Like the weirdest places. You'd be outside. You'd be in California too. And it's still Blaine Coffee. And I'm like, I can't escape it.
Great, because it's all subconscious. Like, it's all subconscious. Like, eventually they're gonna, and that's kind of how people are playing it with the social media game in regards to TikTok. I know we talked about it, but I find it interesting. That's how they're playing it. Is if you hear it enough and you're annoyed with it enough and it's on other people's pages enough, subconsciously you're going to get used to it and look it up at some point. That's why, like, with these heavy marketing budgets, I mean, you can't get away. So
that's true.
Yeah.
Yep. No, 100%. 100%. Yeah. So I think I might know how you're going to answer this based on some of the other things you've said, but what's your perspective on the importance of music videos in today's music landscape?
I'm so torn. I'm a huge music video person, and I'm a huge visual person. Huge. Right. Like, to me, the reason why releases take so long for me is because, like, I have so many unreleased songs. It's ridiculous. But what I think is beautiful is when you have the song, and you have the cinematic landscape, and you have the visual, and it's an experience. I am so big on that. That and short films and all of that. I love it. Problem. In this lands, like where we are now, it's like music videos, to me, it has to be on, like, you have to be on a different, you don't have to be on a different level, but everything's so short form based, I guess. So even if let's say someone makes a music video, because I've noticed this, I've seen this a lot, is they make the music video and they have something and they splice it and it's all short form. Like, they'll have the full video, but it's all short form. Or they won't do a music video at all, and they'll film themselves, and it'll be short form with the lyrics on the screen. So I'm a huge fan of the music video. I personally, that's the route I think I'll always take. But I do find it interesting that it's kind of, people are saying music video is dead. I don't think it's dead. I think you have to be strategic with attention spans and where you are as a uh, generation with how you distribute it.
True.
So, what do you think with that? I'm curious.
So
With the music video,
here's what I'll say. What do you think performs in 2023 better on social media, specifically TikTok? Do you think it's a 3-minute music video to accompany the song? Or do you think it's 15 to 30-second clips that shows you as a personable person beyond the artist, living your real life, singing the song, explaining the song, and like showing you the lens behind like the
easily,
artistry? That
easily.
and
Because
that's
people don't want to be sold anymore. I think that's part of it too. People want to see something authentic, and everything's in music videos are very produced. I think that's a good point and a big part of it.
here's something, and this is what kind of clued me into it. Someone we've talked about already tonight, Jacob Owens, fucking legend, fucking king of music
Yes.
videos. He posted a couple months ago, and he said, as a music video, as a person who creates music videos for a living for the last 10 years, don't spend your money on a music video. He said short form content's where the world's at. The attention span and not wanting to be sold, wanting the authentic. And the funny part is that like those videos don't cost any money, but music videos cost thousands.
Right.
That's the part for me where it's like I do want to create those visuals on that other level, like elevate it, you know, create like a cinematic universe.
Story. Yeah.
Right. But also, if I want to be successful, then it's almost like shooting myself in the foot, because number one, the thousands of dollars that you could have spent on the marketing, like we were talking about, which could bring your song up to a whole nother place, you spent and you didn't do the short form content, which also would have potentially brought in a new audience. So like you said no to both of those things and invested the money and time into a music video, which has like diminishing returns in 2023. That's the part for me where it's like they're important. You need to have them, but I don't think like it was 10 years ago. It should be the focus, because
absolutely should not. And that's what breaks my heart. It breaks my heart so much. Now, because I'm not gonna tell you dollars and pennies, but I'm just gonna say, I'm just going to tell you that I spent money. Oh my gosh, 2022 or 2021. These videos are gorgeous. They're handcrafted animation videos.
Damn.
Took months, 6 to 8 months to actually draw charcoal. Gorgeous.
Damn.
And when I look at it now, I'm low-key mad as fuck, because I'm like, these are gorgeous, but that money in like a marketing standpoint and doing the videos myself and doing just simple stuff that, you know, obviously I wasn't researching as heavily as I wasn't doing anything because I was already making money anyway. But now, like, I'll be real with you. I think I still try to forgive myself. I really do. But that's probably one of my biggest regrets. I've been trying to forgive myself for a little bit for that. Because nothing's promised. So when you have those opportunities where you make money off of something, and you know, I just wish I would have slowed down for a minute.
Yeah.
You know,
well,
like I don't spend money on stupid things.
When the money's coming, it's like not something you think about. You're like, oh, I'll spend this.
Well,
money
and I don't spend stuff on material. I'm not a material. There's no materials things that I actually buy, like cars or anything like that. It's nothing like that. It will always go back in, but where it could go back into is where I was so misguided. Yeah. And again, I was sold on a dream and a horseshoe.
Yeah, well, I think what you mentioned earlier about like the delusions of grandeur, it sucks because in the beginning stages of your career, you're like sold that. So like the person that like ended up manipulating you, I guarantee was like pushing this idea, like planting these seeds, like helping water these seeds, and then like I don't know specifically like what happened in your falling out, but I'm sure at some level was brought on by the fact that like you are sold this dream. You're doing all the things that you're told you're required to do to get there, and you're not getting any closer. And you're like, help me
Right.
make sense. And then I'm sure more delusions were sold to you. And it's really,
It's exhausting.
it's exhausting. And I think a lot of people don't wake up from that. I think a lot of people die there as an artist. Like,
Oh yeah.
like this should have worked out if I would have done this or done this or done this differently. It would have worked out. I'm the best thing ever though. I just like don't want to do it anymore. But I feel like it's a different level of artists to like go through the delusions of grandeur and be like, this is literally delusional.
I think that's actually a very good point. I think people get stuck in that very easily because I understand that. I completely get that. I have to. I've been reading books. Okay, like I have to get over the past, and that's something that is very hard to do because when you grow and you learn and you really start to understand, you see all of the pitfalls. Like when you have ignorance and you say, damn, that didn't work out, or dang, that's one thing. But when you start to really understand, learn the business and understand where to go and how things work and what to do, everything is so red when you look back and you have to like really get over that. And that is, I'm still learning to do that, but you have to get over it very quickly because it will eat you alive. Because when I really look back, I really see it all. And that, it's like even the more that I learn, I see even more red. And I'm like, wow, and it's just getting over that, I think, is really important to do.
True.
Yeah.
100%. 100%. I think we both are in agreement there on that.
Yeah.
Next one though, how has the pandemic affected your creative process and live performance opportunities?
Well, I was in a relationship at that time. Through the entire pandemic, to be honest with you, I didn't do anything to begin with. I did everything that I did was really sync based. I released a few things, live shows that definitely affected me. Obviously, affected everyone, but I didn't do any live streaming. Like I was, like the world, your girl was shut down in general. Like I really didn't do anything during that time in regards to the public eye, which is another thing. What mentally scolds you is when you are being successful, you're making money, you're having good relationships, you're building on other things within music business and within that creation, within that process. But mentally and to the world, you're ghost. But you are actually doing better and being more profitable than you have been. That messes you up too, because I was ghost, but I was actually doing a lot more and a lot more focused.
Well, it's easy to go ghost when you're busy.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, because that's one thing I will say in regards to the relationship I was in, she was very, very, she believed in me probably more than anyone. And I always wanted to stay focused and move because of that belief. And I think that actually propelled me a lot farther. But socially, I fell off. So I think that's very ironic. Because, you'll get those emails or those texts, or you'll get some type of correspondence from people of, where have you been? Or you've been gone for a minute. And it's kind of funny because it's like when big artists, and they fell off. Did they though? Like sometimes they didn't. Most of the times they're in the background, to be honest with you. Writing, producing, doing a lot of that stuff. So mentally though, that does again cap you. It kind of gets to you.
I feel that. I think it would get to most people. Like it's like it was hard for everyone for sure, like during that time, but especially when you're a person that's an entertainer who has to be quote unquote on all the time, especially on social media, like available for people. It's like it takes that mental health, like that. It comes at the cost of your mental health. Like what's the cost of always being online to answer something within 6, 12, 24 hours and to engage with people? Like that comes at the cost of your
It's
mental health.
exhausting. I honestly wouldn't have social media at all, to be honest with you. I would be just fine
So
living my life.
many artists say that, but we
Don't
have
even have
to
to, yeah, we
because of
do.
the fucking.
We do.
You
We
know what I
do. I
mean?
was gonna
Yeah.
delete my shit. I kid
I
you not. I
know.
think a few months ago. Was it
I
a few months
know.
ago? I was having a whole. I was gonna delete everything. I was like, you know what? No. I was gonna delete my Instagram, and I what I've started to not do is react on my emotions. I've gotten a lot better at that, but I was so close. I was like, fuck this whole thing. Like, why are we doing any of this? Like, for what?
True.
Who cares? No, but there's the thoughts sometimes, man. I'm telling you, you're so scripted on social media. Let's be honest. You're so scripted. And, it's not until you actually talk to the person where it's like, damn, you really think like, yeah, a lot. You would
Yep.
never know. But absolutely.
Yeah.
I talk to people and artists, and they're like, yeah, I thought about it too. I said, we don't think about it. Let's not lie.
Yep.
Like, of course we do. Especially being where we are. Of course we think about it. Like, you sacrifice a lot doing this,
It's at the start it's like nothing but sacrifices is kind of what it
Yes.
is. Yeah. Speaking of that, what's the most significant lesson that you've learned during your journey in the music industry?
Hold your value.
Like
I would say
morals?
not morals. Don't say yes to everything. Don't feel obligated. Don't feel like you have to do something. Hold your value as a person. Don't do things for free just because. Well, to be honest with you, there's no reason. Just because your friend or one thing I've learned from my friends is like you hold your value. This is how much I charge. This is how much I do for this. Understand your worth is the biggest thing I could ever possibly say. Because you underestimate yourself because you might not be, the 1% or the mainstream, and you underestimate your value. Holding your value, I feel like, will get you farther than anything else. And understanding your worth. Yeah, I think that's probably the biggest thing. Because people
Gotcha.
take advantage; they'll see right through it. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, 100%. I think that's a good rule of thumb is know
Mm-hmm.
your worth, like, and don't settle. Like,
Don't settle.
and the
Don't
thing is,
settle.
the people that you should be working with, like the people that are on the right path for you, so to speak, they're not going to
Yeah.
they're not going to ask for a discount for your
Right.
work.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Right. That's the biggest thing. If someone says, like, one of my good friends is a videographer, and we do a lot of work, whatever, and he says, this is how much it costs. There's no part of me that's gonna be like, but we're friends. I don't understand. Like, we didn't do that. Absolutely no part of me. Absolutely none. You're worth that, and I completely agree with that. I'm gonna pay you what you're worth. And that's also, to your point, that's when you'll know is, if someone's giving you a hard time about it or they respect you enough.
It's like if someone gives you a hard time about it, they don't think you're worth what you're saying.
Yes.
100%. Like that's the only thing it can mean, So,
It's still in value.
100%. I agree with that. I think this is a good one. Yeah, I could probably stand to learn something from you on this. How do you stay motivated and creative during periods of artistic block or burnout?
Oh man, I ask myself that question every day. No, to be honest with you, there are days where I just won't do anything. But I don't know. That's actually kind of funny because I never stopped doing it though. That is actually a good point. Um, I think that's a good one. There was something that Ed Sheeran said that has always stuck with me.
Okay.
And he says, I used to write, and I still do, but this was like 10, 12 years old. He writes all the time. And one thing he said was, when you don't feel it or you don't feel like writing or something's bad and you're just coming up with bad stuff, it's like a faucet that has dirty water. You run the faucet until it's clear. So one thing I've learned is, even if it sounds bad, like a lot of people say to walk away and take a breath, but when you work through it and you develop that muscle to just work through when it sounds bad, or work through and it's like, all right, well, at least that's out of my system now. Now let's make something else. And you keep going. That's a muscle I've just developed, because there are days like I'm not even trying to do anything. But you get up and do it anyway, which technically is discipline. But to be honest with you, when it comes to the motivation part, it's just doing it anyway. Like, that there's really no, because you'll build up this muscle to where it's like, this is my job. This is what you do. This is what it is. This is who you are as a person. So you don't just stop being. You just keep doing it, and eventually the well will run, clear water. To be honest with you, because there are days where I'm just like, I'm not doing this today. I don't want to do this today.
There's a creator I follow online, who's a musician, and one of the like mantras that he keeps saying, and it's kind of stuck with me the same way, is like, if you're scared, do it scared. Like, if you're hungry, do it hungry. If you're worried, do it worried. Like, if you're anxious, do it anxious. Like,
yes.
It doesn't matter how you feel about it or how it's coming out or like how you think it's going to come out. You have to just try.
It's emotion regulation. Like, you have to regulate your emotions. And because we do things naturally when we feel like doing them. But are you able to do that when you're anxious? That's a huge one. Because I have huge anxiety out the ass. Like, there are days where sometimes I'll be in bed and I'll just I wear hoodies a lot. This might sound funny, but it's my turtle mechanism. They make me feel safe. And that's why I used to wear a lot of beanies and wear a lot of hats. They just make me feel safe and very comfortable. I know it sounds a little childish, low-key, but it's like a safety net. And it's so crazy because there are some days, but in that case, I'll just put on a hoodie and put my headphones on and then come down to the computer and let it out. Like, my favorite part is being here in the studio with my vodka and out here just, letting it rip and seeing what comes out. That is my favorite thing to do. I'll do live shows when I'm opening for someone that's touring, but that's not my comfort zone. Performing live is not what I like. I am a bedroom head. Like, this is where I like to be.
I feel 100% on that. Yep.
Which is another thing. Performing live gets a little stressful for me.
I think you would have a lot of success live streaming bedroom recordings.
I think I would too. I need to get into the streaming thing. This ethos that we call the internet.
Yeah, songwriting.
Web 3.0.
Songwriters like go crazy on Twitch and like other streaming sites. Like it's pretty much like there's like kind of two lanes that I've noticed. If you want to stream and do music, you could be a DJ.
Yeah.
So you could do DJ streams, or you could do songwriting streams. And like people do other streams, like music review streams, submission streams, all that shit. But like if you really look at the charts, there are like two groups that are successful music creators streaming, and it's those two. And you, especially with what you just said about that being your comfort zone, you literally could just get the vodka. Like, you'll be like, I'm gonna make a song tonight. You could have
drinking sessions.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you would
drinking
literally
sessions.
kill it. You would kill it as a songwriter streaming. I kid you not.
That's wild. I didn't even know, because I gotta be real with you. This is my first time on a Discord. Apparently, I had the account since 2020. How the hell did that happen? I have no idea.
Yeah.
But I like this ethos. It's very interesting, to be on a server thing. I'm curious of how this whole world works.
Don't worry, guys. I'm gonna get her up to speed. We're gonna get her fucking.
Yeah, I need to get on here.
No, seriously, you would kill it, and I think that it wouldn't be as taxing for you because it's like in your comfort zone. Like you're bringing the live performance to where you're comfortable. You're not having to go to be uncomfortable to do a live performance.
And I honestly, I was always curious about like the live streaming and the Twitch, because I did see Twitch. I don't follow, but I watched like T-Pain on Twitch and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I always find it like so interesting. Like, people like live streaming.
For sure, it's a thing.
It makes sense though. You're looking at someone completely unedited, and that goes with the theme of what this generation is about. One thing I will say generationally, that is very refreshing, although the attention spans are microscopic. No one wants to be sold shit. Like, even when they say, when you're pushing ads and you're doing that, they say make them as least commercial as possible to make them think they're just scrolling and it's just showing up on their feed. Like, I find that very refreshing, honestly.
Yeah. It's but then also I feel like some companies are bad at it when they do their ads, and it's like the hello fellow kids. Like
I'm not even joking. I live for that. I look at some of these ads and I'm like, girl, what is going on here? Or the skits. Sometimes with the big companies and the skits, or they're not a big company, it's like, a mother that's doing her own thing, and she's talking to herself, but she doesn't know how to really do a skit, and the acting is like god awful. I live. I save all those just so I can giggle just a little bit later.
Yeah,
I'm like, what is going on here?
This shit is crazy. And dude, the amount of money that they're spending on those marketing spends for dog shit media. Dog shit. Anyway, it's funny sometimes.
Oh, it's hilarious.
Okay. So we got just a couple more. My dog is going crazy. I don't know if you guys can see through the blur right here.
Yeah,
Bro, she does not want to leave me alone. She wants some attention, but we're gonna have to wait. I know, she's so sweet. You just gotta go lay down though. You gotta go.
She's like, yeah.
Oh no. She's literally like, I can't even. I'm putting my arm on her head on my armrest. That's what's going on right now. Anyway, last couple of questions. Can you discuss the importance of music education and mentorship for emerging artists?
That's interesting. So I actually had the opportunity a few times to be part of this program, funny enough, at ASU, where I come in and I talk to music educators that are going to be teaching. Okay. So it's like a master's class for their master's degree, whatever. And what they're teaching them is how to teach music production and able to new age technology in schools with kids. Yes. Really? And to that point, I think it's fascinating that they're trying to get to the point where it's part of the J. Dilla Foundation.
Oh, okay.
How they're trying to actually incorporate music production and technology into the classrooms instead of orchestra and band. Not instead of, but they can choose
an option. Yeah,
they could choose an option, and I think that's extremely important, because I'll tell you right now, if that was an option from when I went to school, are you kidding me? I was in band. I was playing that clarinet.
Everyone would have chosen it.
You can't even tell, okay? But if I had music production and stuff like that, I think it's absolutely important. Even in college, ASU has the School of Pop Music. When was that? When? It's like so many things are emerging when it comes to technology and music. And I think that's extremely important. And being able to bring in people and bring in artists and build those connections to where you can have a mentee-mentor relationship and they can see that it's practical. I think that's very important, that you bring in people where it's practical. It's like, holy shit, this is possible. And I think kids seeing that early on, that you can have a career in music without, I don't know,
being
not
a
everyone
diva.
wants to be famous.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, because not everyone wants to be famous. A lot of people want to be in music and not be famous and have this, you want a core fan base. You want people that really buy into you and then have a career like that. So I think it's important to have those relationships. And I think it's extremely important, especially as kids, just being able to see that it's practical. Like I'm telling you right now, like that it's possible.
Like there's a career, like
You can
a
touch the person.
occupation. Yeah.
It's an occupation, and that you could touch someone and you can physically see someone and say, wow, I can be in a space. Because some people, like Beyonce, right?
Mm.
Untouchable. Like, there's a lot of things that people separate. And I think that's, again, running back to social media, why people want to feel like they can touch you. Like you're not this elusive thing.
And then to tie it back to something else we talked about, music videos are what separate you and make you untouchable.
Right.
So like when we're talking about what works and what doesn't versus the other, which makes you much more touchable, like in that regard. So it's yeah,
exactly.
It's all tied in.
It's all tied in. It's all tied in. And it's like, bro, content is such a, that's a whole different conversation. It's such a struggle for me because I built my entire elusive branding and persona on not knowing me. That's my whole thing. It's very rare that you see my face. And that's you could do that, but nowadays it's like, I don't know, you have to work 10 times as hard. Like if you just show your face now, it's so much easier. So
true.
Wild.
True.
Wild.
Well, Truvon, this has been an excellent episode. We've got one more question, but before we get into that, I just wanted to say thank you for being available. Thank you for making a point to be here tonight. I feel like we've learned a lot about you and the music industry at large, which is the goal. So
thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Every time. 4 years from now, when I start this show up again under another channel, you know they got the invite.
I know I have a spot.
That's right. Our last question from our AI overlords, so they will let me eat tonight, is what's the message or emotion you hope listeners take away from your music?
I hope that you take away the fact that you're able to feel and it's okay. Let it out. Turn on, some older stuff. Listen to the words, listen to it sonically, and just allow yourself to cry, allow yourself to feel the emotion to its utmost potential, and release it and let it go. With my music, I really just want you to feel as much as you can and feel deeply. Like that's my whole purpose when it comes to music, is that you can really just sit there and resonate and have your own little bedroom experience. Gotcha. That's like my whole thing. Yeah.
Like a very intentional listening session where you're actually listening to the themes, the messages, the words, and like
and listening to it sonically. Yeah, because I use a lot of heavy bass and a lot of different stuff that, which is funny. That's why you buy Beats by Dre. I understood why he made those. Like you put certain things on and you're able to just, immerse yourself within the song. So.
100%. Bet. Well, Truvon, it has been a pleasure. Let them know what you got pushing right now. What do you have for us?
Yeah, so I just released a song, Love Yourself. I'm also gonna probably start getting merch going. This is my hat. I know. And definitely stay tuned. I have a few things that are within the saddles. But you can find me pretty much everywhere. Truvon, TRUVONNE. My SEO is on point. You can Google me. I will be the only thing that comes up.
That's right.
Only thing that comes up.
That's right.
Google me and it'll be fine. That's right.
We've got our website, truvon.com, in the chat. We've got our new single, Love Yourself. We're going to go ahead and listen to that one more time as we end it tonight. Thank you guys all for being here. This is Behind the Glass. My name's Bob. This has been Truvon, and we'll see you next week. How's that sound?
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.